This is the 5th time I've started this video. I can't even make it through, hey, what is going on, fan clan? I just can't get over how silly I sound. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is dannyphantump. I'm going to stumble the heck of my way through this video. I'll probably talk in circles. It'll be a complete disaster, I'm sure. But I appreciate you guys listening and taking part and commenting and subscribing and liking and all the things that you guys do. I love you guys very much. You guys are absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for all of your support. I want to talk about Prismatic Evolutions. Specifically, I want to talk about the scenario that's been unfolding over the past couple weeks, really on Twitter, and then also on YouTube circulating regarding scalping and regarding the Prismatic Evolutions, allocations, and pre-orders and things like that, because there is just a ton of misinformation that's going on out there, and I figured some of this stuff is going to be fairly, like, you know this already, and a lot of it is probably going to be fairly new, because I want to break down exactly how this whole thing works, how everything works, and how we got here, because let's face it, it is a complete disaster, and it's not just a complete disaster for the customer, it's a complete disaster for distributors, it's a complete disaster for storefronts, and the customer, and the collector. Like, it's a mess for everybody all the time. Like, we have been in a weird situation really for the past couple years now, and it's not fun. It is not great. So first of all, we dropped our first run of Prismatic Evolutions pre-orders a few days ago. If you watch the video on Tuesday, so the way we did it is we shut down the website at like Sunday night, somewhere around there, and then I put a note on the website saying, hey, because of the busyness of Black Friday, we have a lot of orders to pack. We're going to close up the website so that way we can catch up, and we'll reopen it on Tuesday evening, which was to an extent kind of true. We did have a lot of orders to pack. It was a very busy weekend, thanks to you guys. So I did have a lot of work to do, but normally I would just suck it up. I would just stay up late or all night or whatever to get everybody's orders out on time. But I wanted to use that and piggyback off that to have an opportunity to put up Prismatic Evolutions, at least the first wave of products, the products that release in the middle of January. So the website was password protected. You couldn't enter, and it had that note on it. So a lot of people would just think, okay, nothing really that weird going on here. And then on Tuesday, I released a YouTube video. In that video, during like the last 5 minutes of the video, there were a few slideshows or a few slides of the video that released the password, so that way you could enter the website. Now, Prismatic Evolutions was limited. We only did, like I said, we only did the first wave of products. Everything was priced at MSRP. So Elite Trainer boxes, for example, $49.99, and it was limited to 2 per household. If you ordered more than 2, in the description it said your entire order will be canceled. So everybody did a great job of following the limits and everything like that. And unfortunately, there was just not enough to go around. Now, we didn't put everything up because I knew, hey, Tuesday afternoons, people are working. Not everybody's going to be able to escape to watch a Fanny video. Not everybody's going to jump to watch a Fanny video right away. So there will be another drop at some point that will be done differently, but still kind of hidden a little bit to avoid bots and avoid buyouts and avoid things like that, which are a lot of excuses that a lot of LGSs will say. And I understand it's not easy to beat the bots. It's not. Like, I have tried stuff before. I know one company just did an email distribution where they put out the password and they emailed it out. It still got eaten up by bots. Their bots are very sophisticated right now, and they will learn and they will grow depending on what you tell them to do. So even though there's software that you can purchase, which does get pretty pricey, and there's apps that you can install and things like that, it is never going to be an easy thing. So it's not an easy solution. Just be like, hey, let's do a password protection email blast out to our best customers. It's just not easy, and it can be a very stressful thing. I was actually dreading this drop for a couple weeks because A, I didn't really know how to do it, and B, I was like, there's going to be a lot of upset people, a lot of people who are like annoyed that they didn't get the opportunity because it is scalped so much and it is at such a high price point, which is very, very frustrating. There will be plenty, and that's why it's so important not to FOMO and not to buy into these crazy prices. A lot of people are going to be opening Prismatic Evolutions on release day or right around release day, and if you're not, because you refuse to spend above MSRP, that's a good thing. Just wait. There will be more product around. It is 9 months of releases. There will be opportunity for you to buy packs at MSRP, if not below MSRP. There will be opportunities out there to get it. It may require you to look a little bit harder than normal, but there will be plenty of opportunity to get it. So live vicariously through other people who make bad decisions with spending their money, much like myself, and don't do it. Like, that's really the main recommendation. I know that sucks. That's not the answer. That's not the right thing. But that's kind of the situation that we are at right now, because when the opportunity presents itself for a lot of people to make some quick money, they kind of take advantage. And that's really what we're at right now with Prismatic Evolutions. And we wanted to make sure that we continued offering products at MSRP, but I wanted to also provide information out here so you can understand, like, it's your right to get upset with stores who are not putting product up at MSRP, but I wanted to provide some insight so that way you're like, okay, well, I get it. It makes me unhappy. I'm mad, but at least I understand now why they're doing it, and you can kind of make the decision for yourself because there is a lot of bad information out there. So I'm going to flip you guys around. One thing that really doesn't make sense to me as I'm turning you guys around is the storefronts who list products on TCG Player like $74, $75 right before release day, or right before the beginning of Prismatic Evolutions on TCG Player. There were pre-order stores who were selling it for like 70, 75, like obviously scalping still above MSRP, but why sell it at 70, 75? Like, then you can basically just put it in your storefront for $55, $57, $59. If you're a pre-order store, you're authorized by TCG Player to have pre-orders. That means you do pre-releases, so you are a brick and mortar store. Why are you doing that? I understand some stores are going to have deals with TCG Player where they don't have the enormous fees, but you're still looking at 13% fees. So if you have a product that's $75, you're paying like $10 worth of fees. That brings it down to $65, and then you're paying like $10 shipping on top of that. That brings it down to $55. Just put it in your store for like $54.99, and I'm sure it'll sell, and people will be really happy that it's only a few dollars above MSRP. Look, that's what Target did, right? They had it at $54.99. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I wanted to kind of give you a little crash course quickly, and we'll go through stuff quickly because some of it is repeat information. So talking about Prismatic Evolutions, first of all, if you don't know how things work, basically everything starts here. So Pokemon Company International does have multiple warehouses with their main corporate office being located in Bellevue, Washington. They have multiple printers scattered throughout the United States. They recently purchased Millennium Print Group not too long ago to kind of up their printing process due to the increase in demand, but they already had other printers and other contracts that they were working with to print their products. So there are products that are getting printed far, far, far in advance. So like Prismatic Evolutions, for example, would have already begun printing probably like a year ago, at least, like a long time ago, because the printing process does take a very, very long time. The QC process takes a very long time, so they print these far in advance. So they're kind of trying to forecast what hype and what demand is going to be like for future sets like a year out. So when we're looking a year ago when Paradox Rift is coming out, and we're just looking at how Paldean Fates did, and we're just looking at how Obsidian Flames did, and how Paldea Evolved did, and Paldea Evolved, while it's great now, did not do great at the beginning, and we're looking at the response hype from Scarlet and Violet base, we're probably like, this is not going as well. And we do expect people to be more excited for a set like Prismatic Evolutions, but we don't want to overprint. We can always print more, and it might come out a year after. You know, there might be, they could start reprinting stuff now, and it come out a year, we'll get reprints and things like that. And maybe that's why they have such a long release window for something like Prismatic Evolutions, and why it's important not to FOMO. Look at Shining Fates. Shining Fates was printed to the ground with multiple runs, multiple waves, even a year after release. So there is going to be more Prismatic Evolutions for sure in the future at some point, but when they're forecasting things and they're seeing this giant drop off when it comes to demand, not just on main series product but also on specialty product, they probably scratch their head and they're probably like, it's better to be safe than sorry. So it all starts there, and then it basically gets funneled into two different sections. So you can see the two different arrows there. So there's one arrow which goes to distribution networks. These distributors, you can look these up. You can just Google who are the Pokemon distributors in the United States, and you can actually Google around the world. There's distribution centers located around the world. The United States is the best of the bunch because they have multiple. They have tons of distribution channels that you can talk to get a reseller. I mean, you can get a reseller's permit, you can buy, you can be an online rip and shipper, you can do a lot of different things, establish a website, establish a tax ID, and work with the storefront. Your allocations are going to be absolute garbage to start out, but eventually you build up, you spend more, and then you get a little bit more product at wholesale. Your price might not be great right out of the gates, but a lot of it's going to depend on how much you spend, and we'll touch more on that later. So couple different distributors, probably the two biggest noted ones right here. Southern Hobby, probably the biggest. They have multiple warehouses spread throughout the United States. GTS Distribution, same thing, multiple warehouses. These distribution channels, these distributors have contracts then and agreements with different storefronts, different LGSs, different online LGSs. So you have like us there, the Card Coliseum, Safari Zone, obviously a very big storefront. And then Troll and Toad, probably one of, if not the biggest online storefront when it comes to trading card games in the United States. So that's where the distributors kind of filter their product to. They do not send product over to Target, over to Walmart. It's a completely different funnel. There's different allocations that come from Pokemon. So Pokemon takes the amount of product and they will split things. Now, I do think that they have split things differently now than what they used to. I think they give a lot more to the right-hand side of the right-hand column than the left-hand column, but Pokemon does split their allocation differently. So the distributors get a certain amount, and then everything else goes to the other side, which is Excel Marketing, MJ Holding, these different marketing companies that then stock big box retailers. So these marketing companies will stock Target, Walmart, GameStop, Best Buy, different big box stores that you go to that then have products sitting on the shelves. That is also different than what you might see if you go to Target.com and you buy a booster box, or Walmart.com and you buy a booster box, or BestBuy.com and you buy a booster box. Those booster boxes are sold by Target, Walmart, Amazon a lot of times, but they also might be sold by secondary sellers who have contractual agreements with those big box retailers to sell on their website once Target, Walmart product is out of stock. So that never used to happen. Pokemon did not used to sell directly to Target to sell online. That was something that kind of started about a year and a half ago, much different than what we see now. For the most part, when you walk into a store and you see Pokemon cards that are sitting on a peg hook or sitting on an aisle, as soon as you walk in, it's going to be Excel, it's going to be MJ. There's a few other ones as well that are going to stock them, and then they will sell to the big box retailer, who then sell to the customers, which is this imaginary blob right here in the middle. So we're going to focus mainly on the LGS side, because that's what I know. That's what I'm very comfortable with. I don't know anything really about Excel Marketing, MJ Holdings, anything like that. I know a little bit, but not much. Just talking to the reps, like they will get returns. There's reasons why they had these ETBs on sale at Target, whether it be because of returns, because of shelf life, because of things like that. But I know a lot more about working with like Southern Hobby, GTS, and things like that, having been able and blessed to do it for so long. So just kind of talking through things here with my little skit. So Southern Hobby and GTS will, this Ash Ketchum right here is the distributor. So that is Southern Hobby and GTS, who is calling their LGS or one of their accounts, and they're saying, this is a representative saying, hey, we can offer you each 200 cases of Shroud of Fable. Now, Shroud of Fable, a specialty set that came out in August, came out at a really weird time, right? Like the Elite Trainer boxes were delayed because there was an issue with the component in the packaging. So it came out even later, like end of August, and like 3 weeks later, we had the release of a main series set with Stellar Crown, which also was a smaller set. And Pokemon wasn't moving nearly as well as what it had during the pandemic, or nearly as well as what it is now. So Shroud of Fable, which was not an in-demand set at all, there were some competitive cards in it, which was impactful because it was the new set that was going to be playable for Worlds. So there were cards in the set that desperately needed to be pulled so that way it could participate in the World Championships. But for the most part, as far as collectors go, and as far as like people who are enjoy cracking packs, they were just saving their money. They were just chilling. They're like, I'm going to wait for Surging Sparks. I'm going to wait for another set release, Terastal Festival, and then Prismatic Evolutions, because I want my money allocated to those sets, not Shroud of Fable. And because of that, Shroud of Fable didn't do too well. That's why you have such blowout deals. I was looking earlier today, and I saw somebody tweeted like Shroud of Fable ETBs for like $27. Like that's below wholesale cost. So Shroud of Fable, extremely cheap. So they're calling out their storefronts, emailing them out, updating allocation, saying, hey, we're going to offer you 200 cases of Shroud of Fable. That's a lot. That's 2,000 Elite Trainer boxes. So that's a ton. Troll and Toad, which is like, this is the thing. When you're a storefront, the big eat and the small don't. The big eat because they're going to constantly get allocations. But the reason that they constantly get allocations is because they take them all. They can take them all because there's different things as an established business that they can do with them. They have easier outlet to dump things. They have a higher bankroll that they can spend on things. I'm not saying it's not fair, because it is fair. They should be able to get more. They've done the work to get there, but that's just how it is. It's very difficult to get to that point when you already have somebody who's at the top of the mountain. They're going to get the most. So Troll and Toad going to get the most of pretty much anything. They get offered 200 cases. Okay, I'll take it all. A company like Safari Zone, I guess we will take them. Hopefully this helps allocation. And that's a big thing that you need to understand. If you want to get good allocations, even during down periods of time, like what we saw with Shrouded Fable, and really the entire year leading up to Shrouded Fable, because ever since the release of Scarlet and Violet Base up until Twilight Masquerade, booster boxes did not do well. Even Paldea Evolved was a tough sell at $105, $110 upon release. It was a booster box that was basically $100. And there's a lot of misconstrued opinions on how much a booster box is at wholesale. It used to be like $80, $82 during the Sword and Shield era. That would be a wholesale cost. That was like a wholesale cost. But with the Scarlet and Violet era, MSRP did go up, and because of that, wholesale costs also went up. So then you're looking at like $90, $92 $93 for a booster box. So selling at $100 shipped is actually a loss, because once you factor in fees and when you factor in shipping, a company is going to lose a little bit of money. Danny, why are they selling at a loss? Well, they need to pay invoices, first of all, and they need to free up space. Booster boxes take up a lot of space. It's tough for you've been into a local game store, I'm sure. They don't have tons of space, right? They have to have a playable area, and then they probably have a back room where they have stuff kind of set off to the side, which is a lot of their inventory. They can't keep filling it up with tons and tons of booster boxes. So Safari Zone probably like, oh yeah, we'll take it. Hopefully this helps our allocations. The Card Coliseum, this is just too much. We'll take 100 cases, but we can't take all of it. That's too much to sit on. We're basically going to have to sell these at wholesale anyways. They're not going to move, and even they're going to move slowly. So those are three different, very normal responses from company. And then all of a sudden, distributor reaches out a couple weeks later and says, Paldea Evolve booster boxes are back in stock, 10% below market. So this is what a lot of people don't understand. Also, there are a lot of times distribution companies that offer 3 different price points for products. So they will have a pre-order price, which is only if you pre-order and commit, which is a contractual agreement that you are on the hook for a certain amount of product at a certain price point. So you might get a little bit of a break. Let's say you get booster boxes for like $89 for Surging Sparks, but you are going to have to commit to a certain amount. So if they're like, Paldea Evolved is in stock, this is the release of Paldea Evolved, we'll give you 300 booster boxes on release. It's going to be $89 a piece. You take them. Okay, great. You sell out. Then release day hits and you're like, okay, I need more Paldea Evolved booster boxes. That pre-order price is gone. Now you're looking at just a wholesale price. So now they might be like, okay, your wholesale price on this product is $95. So it's going to be roughly 10% more. Okay, fine. I'll order it. I can sell them for $110. No big deal. I'll take another 100 boxes. So you order another 100 boxes. Those come in. You sell them. All of a sudden, Paldea Evolve goes out of stock at distribution. It's tough to get at Pokemon, at the Pokemon Company International. They don't have anymore. Now it has to get to a reprinting phase. So even though we are well within the reprint window of Paldea Evolve, because it came out less than a year and a half ago, so we got this restock of Paldea Evolved, but a lot of companies, a lot of distributors are like, hey, we'll give you Paldea Evolve. We got a reprint from Pokemon. We'll give you some product closer to wholesale cost, let's say $100, but the majority of it, the rest of it, we can give you, if you want, let's say 150 booster boxes. We'll give you 50 of them at $100 a piece, but the rest of them, we're going to give you 10% below market. So you can either take them or you can leave them. And if you leave them because you're like, hey, I'm not going to take a bunch of product on that I'm only paying like 10% isn't enough to live off of. Like, that's not enough to handle. Like, I can't just handle, $10 profit. Once I factor in shipping costs, you're looking at like a break even then all of a sudden, because 10% below market doesn't really work for me. But then if you don't take them, you're kind of screwed, because then your spend goes down. You're not going to get allocated higher things. So it's a mess no matter what. So you have people, Troll and Toad, okay, we can take a bunch. We'll take whatever we can get. Fine. That's great. Safari Zone, same thing. I guess we'll take them, but hopefully it helps our allocations. And the Card Coliseum says, that doesn't leave us much room at all. Like, we'll take a few cases just so we have product for our customers, but we're basically still breaking even on this product, even though it got reprinted. So they might be selling the rest of the booster boxes at $130 because the market price is $145. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, this isn't a wholesale box anymore, but my customers are looking for this. So I'll just offer it at $145 to my customers in case they want to add it on in a cart, or in case that's what they're looking for. Maybe there's something else I have in stock they'll want to add on with it. So reprints are not necessarily always a good thing for an LGS, because a lot of times they're going to be coming at them with close to market prices. We have tons of new Pokemon items in stock. How much do you want of each? This is really the kicker right here. This is all those ancillary products, all those things that you probably pass up when you walk into a store, because you're like, well, I just want an ETB, or I just want booster boxes. I don't really want all these extra things that are coming out, all these tins that are coming out, all these collection boxes, all these treasure chests, all these random releases, these holiday candles, and these trick-or-trade booster bundles. Those are fine, like those are great, but they're not things that move really well. So Troll and Toad is like, we'll take whatever we want and sell them on third-party places. We can list them on Amazon, we can list them on Target, we can list them on Walmart, and they'll sell. We can just kind of mark them down a few dollars below MSRP and we'll be good. Safari Zone, same thing. I guess we'll take some. Hopefully this helps with allocations. And the Card Coliseum is like, we'll take a little bit, but things don't move, so we can't overdo it. That's the problem. That's the big thing right now that a lot of people don't understand, is if you're not taking that stuff, your spend is not going to be good enough to get higher allocation numbers. And when a set like Prismatic Evolutions comes out, or a set like Surging Sparks comes out, all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay. But if you are a store like Safari Zone or Troll and Toad, and you take, let's say 20 cases of everything that comes out, all of a sudden you're sitting with with a wall and a storage unit and multiple storage units worth of inventory and thousands of battle academies because they're getting bundled and thrown at you with every single thing. And then all of a sudden, you're sitting on this giant slew of product that you can't even move below wholesale. So this is stuff that's just at distribution right now, right? You got different tins, you got collection boxes, you got the Pokeball tins, you've got My First Battles, you've got deck boxes. Deck boxes are a big thing. They did a great job with this recent Charizard structure deck that came out because there's a lot of staples in it. Even this recent trainer toolkit isn't that bad with earthen vessels in it and things like that. And as a storefront, you do have the opportunity to crack those open and sell singles individually and probably break even a little bit easier, but then that's a lot more work. You're paying employees to crack everything open. You're paying multiple different avenues of fees and multiple different avenues of shipping, and it can get really, really cost heavy on all those ancillary costs that are piling up. So for the most part, a lot of times this stuff just sits and you crack this stuff open, and a lot of times the booster packs inside are not what you're looking for. The sets that are in demand right now are still Paldea evolved when it comes to like sealed booster boxes and things like that. Packs not doing as great as like sealed booster boxes. Twilight Masquerade, Surging Sparks, those move really well, but you look at the other booster packs that are in collection boxes right now, Temporal Forces, Scarlet and Violet Base, Obsidian Flames, Paradox Rift, those do not move nearly as well. So breaking even on those, maybe if you're lucky, is kind of a win for these collection boxes. So right now, not very good because you have to take all this stuff, and Pokemon just continues to release all this stuff, and you can't blame distribution because all this stuff is getting sent to them as well, and it works the exact same way. So distribution is like, hey, I want to get a ton of Prismatic Evolutions from Pokemon, and Pokemon might be like, well, you didn't order enough of My First Battles, so nope, that's not going to work. We're going to give it to Southern Hobby because they ordered 10 million cases of, that's obviously an embellishment, but a lot of My First Battle. So it all works in the same way. So Pokemon or distributors are then like, we can offer you 200 boxes of Surging Sparks, but it's bundled. And this is what distributors will do a lot. A lot of times, once they have a lot of products in stock, all of these things that we were talking about that they were forced to take, they're going to start splitting it up. They're going to start divvying it up with more popular products that come out. So Surging Sparks, for example, a big set that a lot of people were in demand for, sold out basically before release. Obviously, you couldn't buy it on Pokemon Center's website. There was a restock that then came, but it was bundled from a lot of distribution centers with a lot of other product that might not move nearly as well. That's kind of sitting, taking up space because they only have so much space. So they're like, hey, we'll give you Surging Sparks and we'll give you a decent price point, but you're going to have to take all this other stuff too. If you don't take all this other stuff, then we're just going to charge you 10% below market on Surging Sparks, and you're looking at like $160 for a booster box of Surging Sparks, which obviously isn't going to work for a lot of storefronts, and then they're going to get yelled at by their customers, and then they're just not going to have any product to be able to offer their customers, especially during the holiday season, which can get very, very frustrating. Troll and Toad is like, well, I guess we can take it, fine. Safari Zone's like, we love bundles. We bundle everything. That's great. I love bundles. And the Card Coliseum is like, time to get another storage unit, I guess, because we got to take it. You need Surging Sparks. People want Surging Sparks, so we got to take everything else. And because of that, then all of a sudden you get all this junk stuff that just sits and never moves, and you get to offer Surging Sparks to your customers at a decent deal. And you're hoping that the margin that you make on Surging Sparks is high enough that it can kind of alleviate the loss that you are going to take on all that other product and give you enough to pay that invoice that you're just about to get. So it can get very, very, very frustrating. And then it all comes together and your distributor calls you and says, Prismatic Evolutions numbers are in. We will base your allocation numbers off of how much you spent over the last 12 months. And Troll and Toad is like, crap. Safari Zone's like, we love bundles still. And the Card Coliseum is like biscuits. Well, because you don't spend as much when the Pokemon Company releases all these products that don't move. That's what becomes very, very difficult. Unless you are a very high volume, and one that comes to mind on eBay, for example, is like P Football Pete. Sells just an absolute ton of stuff. But for the most part, selling it at cost. Just burning and turning inventory over and over and over again. So that way you keep up allocations for these banger sets. So that way you know when this comes out, you're going to get the best numbers that you possibly can get. Whereas like the Card Coliseum is like, well, I wish we would have more product, but we had to make the best decision for our business, so we didn't order as much over the past year, because otherwise you're paying to store it and you're paying to ship it and you're losing money, and it just becomes this giant mess. So that's something to remember when it comes to buying from your favorite stores, that hey, you may go to your LGS and you may be like, hey, thanks for offering me this Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer Box at $50. I really appreciate that. Because of that, I'll also buy this, this tin at $20. I don't know. Whatever makes you happy, obviously, whatever you think is best, you need to do what you need to do. But I just wanted to put that information out there so you understand this is kind of what everybody else is going through. It's easy to point out a store and be like, scalper, 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 which is the case. Like, they do have opportunities to figure out other things. Like, obviously, we sold at MSRP, but we didn't get as much as what I would have liked. Like, obviously, I want to help more people. I want more people to get it at MSRP, but we didn't get as much as what I would normally have liked to get. And I mean, our numbers weren't bad, but they weren't as good as what they could have been, or I hope they would have been. And a lot of that's probably just because I didn't order as many collection boxes over the past year, because otherwise you just lose money, and it's just this constant loss. So it's a battle everywhere from the top to the bottom, with everybody being super impacted. So these storefronts are like, hey, we need more products. So what do? And there's a lot of different avenues that a lot of storefronts will go to get more product. And this is another thing that people just don't really understand or don't really think about. They probably do understand it, but probably don't really think about it. So Troll and Toad wants more because there's not enough to go around. Even Troll and Toad, who gets plenty of product, is probably like, hey, there's not enough to go around. We need more. Card Coliseum's like, we need more. Safari Zone's like, we need more. So then all of a sudden you have this giant rush to buy all this ancillary product and just blow it out on Black Friday or blow it out on sales before Christmas and be like, hey, I'll take a couple dollars loss per unit. I'll take $1 loss per unit. I'll break even on the unit just to try and up those numbers a little bit, because I know that in March there's going to be a big set. In May there's going to be a big set. In June there's going to be a big set. And as allocation numbers continue to come out, because you're only probably getting the first wave or two of products for Prismatic Evolutions, you want more moving forward in the future. But also you're looking elsewhere then. You're looking elsewhere to find product. And this is where it kind of gets sticky. And this is where I think customers a lot of times have the right to be upset, because a lot of times some storefronts will hide behind other storefronts, and that's very frustrating to see as a storefront myself. So you might see a company that has connections or is able to reach out to different marketing companies who do stock those big box retailers that are like, hey, when you get product in, when you get product returned, or if you get extras, like, let me know. I'll pay MSRP, or I'll pay above MSRP for a product. Or you might call up another store. You might call up a very, very large store, and you might be like, hey, I want more Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer boxes. I'll give you this much above MSRP for all of them. And then that way they can sell them for even above it. So that they're scalping product, but their entry point is much, much different than that wholesale cost. And that's where it gets a little bit sticky and a little bit frustrating, because that leaves less opportunity for customers. But regardless, they're still scalping no matter what. So here is just kind of a breakdown of ETBs, what they look like. So I'm sure it's no secret, Elite Trainer boxes, about $30 wholesale, like especially for a specialty set. You might get it for a little bit cheaper if you buy them from a main series set. MSRP Prismatic Evolutions, $50, $49.99. You factor in $10 shipping. Now, some companies are going to get much better deals than that, right? Like $6, $7 maybe, if they have a really good UPS account or FedEx account or something like that. But we'll call it $10. We'll just keep math simple here. Supplies, labor, $1. It doesn't take much to print off a label and stick it on a box for a singular ETB. It's fairly simple. I guarantee you it's not going to take much time. So there's not that much money in supplies and labor right there. So your profit per box is only about $9. And this is what a lot of people don't understand also. There's not a ton of profit in those Elite Trainer boxes. So $9, okay, if you get a decent amount of units, it can work out really well. But if you don't, it doesn't work out really well. What if you sell that Elite Trainer box, if you buy it for $60 and you sell, or let's say you buy two of them, sell two of them, okay? So it's a little bit better of profit by selling two of them rather than one of them. So like we limited on our site to you can only buy 2 units. So you can only buy 2 Elite Trainer boxes. So the ETB cost, let's say $60 for us. MSRP, $100. So we factored in $100. We offer free shipping at $100. So you buy 2, you get free shipping, $100. Shipping is $12. So then you lose out on that $12. Supplies and labor, still about $1. It doesn't take any extra. You just throw 1 extra ETB in there. That's it. It's the same size box, same size everything else. If anything, it's probably a little less packing paper because that ETB takes up more space. Your profit all of a sudden increases a little bit. So yeah, it goes up to $27 total. But your profit per piece goes up a little bit better because it's your shipping doesn't go up that much more. Your shipping pretty much stays the same because dimensions are still going to be the same, but the weight is a little bit more. So that impacts it only by a couple dollars. So your profit per piece is better. You're looking at about $13.50 profit per piece rather than only about $9 profit per piece. So let's say you get allocated 500 units. Your profit on those Elite Trainer boxes, if you get 500 of them, is $4,500. If you bundle it and you do 2, let's say we limit it to 2, you can buy 2 ETBs, it's $100. Your profit on that is $6,750. So there is higher profit just by doing it a little bit differently. It works out a little bit better. But let's say you scalp. Let's say you scalp and your ETB cost is still $30. MSRP, all of a sudden you put it at $90, which is cheap. Right now, when I was looking before on TCG Player, it was like $107 is what the going rate is now for a Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer Box, which is insane. Your shipping and supplies is still the same. $10 shipping, $1 supplies per labor. That means all of a sudden your profit on your box is $49. So yeah, this is where greed kind of gets in and greed kind of takes over. But you really got to look in the mirror and put yourself in this situation and be like, okay, 500 units, $24,500. So if you sell 500 units at that $90 market price versus that $4,500, like, I'm just going to be completely blunt for you. A lot of companies are in the business of making money. That's how they stay open. That's how they keep their employees paid. Like that's just, LGSs don't make that much money. Like your local brick and mortar store is not going to make that much money, and I'll tell you why in a second here. But Allocation, $24,500 worth of profit. That's $20,000. So just by selling closer to market price, instead of basing their business model on selling at MSRP, they're going to get some hate, but they're going to be able to provide their company with $20,000 extra. Now, I don't know what they're doing with that $20,000 that you could be providing your customers or your employees with Christmas bonuses. You could be able to provide maybe a nicer holiday for your family. I have no idea, but that's $20,000, a lot of money. That is a lot of money that then you can use to kind of help allocations in the future. But the difference is, the big thing is, a company who's getting 500 units is probably stocking all this junk here. All of this stuff that I just kind of shrunk down and put on the page here. That's a lot. Like, that's a lot of stuff that they're sitting on, that they're losing money on, and that $20,000 is probably not even enough. Like, that's going to help with all this other junk that isn't getting bought, that isn't getting purchased. You might be like, well, Fanny, I buy one of everything, so I'm always very consistent. That's great. The majority of Pokemon collectors are really only focusing on booster boxes. They're really only focusing on a couple ETBs. They're ripping those. They're having fun, and then maybe they're buying a lot of singles. But I guarantee you, they're not spending a ton of money buying all this other product that storefronts have to take. And the sad thing is, like, this is your choice as a storefront. I get all the time, hey, I want to open up my own Pokemon card store. What do I do? That's great. Let's talk about what it all entails first. Like, is this really what you want? Like, this is what you sign up for as a storefront owner. As a store owner, this is what you sign up for. So no complaining down the road. This is what you sign up for. You're going to get hate if you do things differently, and you're just going to have to learn to accept that. And that's kind of where we're at right now. But I wanted to put all the information out there so that way you can make the best educated hate, if that's the path that you decide to take. I think it's important for everybody to be knowledgeable and understand exactly how things work, because then they can kind of put themselves in the situation a little bit better and make the decision on how they want to respond. So I'm not saying, like, obviously I don't think you should hate anybody or you should insult anybody or anything like that. Like, just don't let your wallet do the talking, right? Then just don't buy. There's going to be more. There's going to be plenty. But it does get frustrating from all levels. So you have every right to be frustrated as a collector. And if you're a store owner watching this, you have every right to be frustrated. If you're a distributor, a rep watching this, you have every right to be frustrated too. It's very difficult right now, but I think it's important to understand everything. So I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. Hopefully I didn't talk in circles too much. I love you guys. We'll be back on Sunday with another video. Until next time, peace.